What's up, guys? So I just decided to make this video to answer some questions I got on Instagram, do a little Q&A for you guys. So this is the first time I'm doing this, so let's see how it goes. But I just wrote down the questions I got, and here we go. So question number 1 here, do we really need mini cuts? So that is going to depend on the situation. I would say that mini cuts can be very helpful. And for me personally, the reason why I've utilized mini cuts has been essentially to just set myself up for a successful gaining phase. So, getting myself to, a low body fat level, getting myself into a position where my hunger is in a good place. And, from there, I can slowly start, putting on weight and, just spend more time in a caloric surplus by being, in a good starting position and being lean starting out. In the past for me, what would often happen is, I would push up my body weight high and I would start to lose appetite and eventually get to a point where I literally just had no appetite whatsoever. And, once you get to that point where you just pretty much can't push your weight up anymore, a lot of times that would make sense to then do a mini cut so that you put yourself back in a position where you regain your appetite and, you're also leaner and you can start to actually then push your body weight back up. Sometimes also what can happen is you get to a point where you're pushing your body weight up and up and up, and then you find yourself not even really progressing in your lifts anymore. And it's almost like you're just getting fatter, but there's no improvements in performance. And I think that could also be a situation where a mini cut could maybe be helpful. And there are other situations, for me recently, I started cutting pretty much because I came from this period where my body fat was higher. I was just very inconsistent with eating, and that wasn't really improving my training. And I also my lifestyle at the time was, I was just not in a good place where I was really, making the most of that phase. And I wasn't really in a stable environment. And now that I am in a more stable environment, it was more so also like a mental thing too, to reset myself. So there's different reasons why they could be helpful. Question number 2 here, does the step from cardio count towards your step count? So for me personally, whenever I do have cardio, which right now it's on my rest days. On my rest days, I do 25 minutes of cardio, and I'm also having the goal of hitting 10,000 steps per day. So even throughout the week, every day of the week, training day or rest day, I'm hitting 10,000 steps per day. And I do allow that cardio on my rest day to count towards that step count. So on my rest days, I hit the 25 minutes of cardio, and then I just make sure I hit at least 10,000 steps by the end of the day. And that's how I personally have been doing it. Someone said, God bless you, man. Thank you, sir. God bless you as well. Number 4 here, what is your social and dating life like as a competitive bodybuilder? So, whenever you're really focused on this one thing, especially with bodybuilding, there's a lot of variables you're trying to control, and you're trying to eat a certain way, and just by doing that alone, that for one can affect things. I'm not eating out with people as much, going out doing different things. I like to have my routine, especially if you're prepping. It's definitely going to affect your social life when you want to really have this structured routine, and you're not going to want to go out and do as many things with people, and you get to a point of prep where you just don't even feel like doing that anyways. But definitely social life has been affected. There's not a lot of people that live this kind of lifestyle, and so not a lot of people really relate to it. And honestly, I'm at a point now where I really don't want to be around a lot of people that don't relate to what I'm doing, or especially if it's people that would almost have an issue with what I'm doing. I don't want to be around that. So, I got to a point where I would avoid a lot of social situations that would put me in those positions where I'm around these type of people that don't get what I'm doing. So, it definitely has affected my social life and dating life as well. I'm not in relationships all the time with people. A lot of people will not really relate to this again. And so I'm at a point where I don't want to be in a relationship with somebody that doesn't relate to what I'm doing, or at least understand it or respect it. If they don't respect how important this is to me and what I'm trying to do with bodybuilding, then I would rather not be in a relationship than be in a relationship with somebody who doesn't get or support what I'm doing. That's just where I'm at. It's pretty selfish, but I understand that there are people out there that do understand and relate to this and respect it, and it's just harder to find those people. And I'm just not in a position where I'm trying to force myself to come to that point. But if it happens, that's great. But I'm okay with not being in a relationship if that's just what makes most sense right now. So someone said, I'm competing in June, July, August, and November. Is that doable? So it's doable. It would be hard to actually bring your best to every show when you're competing, with that amount of gap between your first show in June and your last show in November. That is a long gap of time there, and to maintain and to hold on to just peeled conditioning, it would be very hard to do that. Now, if you plan out the prep properly, it's possible. It's very possible. You could, be dialed in June, and then, July is right around the corner, August. So honestly, you could definitely do that. The harder thing would be to maintain it all the way from June to November. Now, if after August, maybe you did some type of, diet break, maybe even let your body weight come up a little bit after the August show, allow your weight to bump up a little bit, maintain that, be on a bit higher calories, and then come back into a deficit to really dial in for November. It's possible. You just would have to really plan it out. So number 6, when are you planning to step on stage again? So I have not decided when I want to step on stage again. I'm thinking maybe 2026. I need time to obviously improve and be my very best. And also, I just need to be in a position in my life where going through a contest prep would actually make sense, because I recognize how, when you go through contest prep, and especially when you are taking it very seriously and you want to bring your very best, it really takes away from other aspects of your life. It really will. And the whole process, it's not even just about the prep, but it's also even after the show, that whole period of time is very important as well. And so it takes a lot out of you to bring that conditioning, in the recovery process takes a long time. So I want to be in a position in my life where it makes sense for me to actually go through a contest prep again. And so I don't really know for sure. I haven't committed. I know for sure I'm going to spend the rest of this year just aiming to make improvements, and probably even 2025 too. So we'll see. Someone says, I have an imbalance in my traps and shoulders. Is there anything you recommend? Man, it's hard for me to say because I don't exactly know the context behind that. I don't really know exactly what type of imbalance is going on here with your traps and shoulders. So I would have to have a little more details on that. Someone said, do you have the desire to someday use gear? I can be honest with you guys and tell you guys that I've never thought like that I've never like seriously thought that I wanted to ever jump on anything. You know, when I got into lifting, it wasn't to be a bodybuilder. I didn't get into lifting to be a bodybuilder, you know, but along the way I happened to, you know, learn from a lot of guys who actually were natural bodybuilders. So I got immersed in natural bodybuilding early on, actually, and you know, those guys inspire me. And I just, you know, I've never had that desire. Like, I don't care to be on the Olympia stage. That's not why I do this. I don't care to put any type of chemicals like that in my body. I want to be in this for the long run, you know. So no, I have no desire. That's not the type of life I want to live, man. Someone said favorite childhood memory. Yeah, that is tough. I can't really say one particular memory. I would say some of the best memories I had were growing up and just doing different things with my brothers. You know, being a kid, playing games with them, going outside, going to friends' houses as a kid, sleeping over, you know, just getting into trouble. Someone says, I'm new to your content. How long did it take for you to get to where you are now? I started when I was 13, going on 14, and I'm 25 now. It's been over 11 years. And throughout that period of time, you know, I was always consistently training, over a decade of consistently training with the goal of, you know, putting on muscle. And I started learning from people early on. What is harder for you, cutting or bulking, and why? I would say they both have their pros and cons. You know, when you're cutting to very extremely low body fat levels, that can be very hard, of course. And then, of course, when you're bulking and when I'm pushing up my body weight really high, for me at least, it's hard too. So I would say both. Now, it gets to a point with the bulking, man, where it's just, for me, the appetite drops so much that it's just so hard to put on weight, or to put on more weight, because I just have to eat so much. So, I mean, bulking can be very tough. Now, cutting typically actually isn't too bad if I'm starting in a position where I'm ready to cut. And someone said, what are some of your hobbies outside of bodybuilding? That's funny, because like right now, you know, I don't have a lot of different hobbies. I'm pretty boring right now. I've been reading books recently, so I guess you could say that. Watching videos, I guess. YouTube. I mean, sometimes I watch shows. Recently it's been more YouTube. Listen to music. How do you execute the high cable curl, is what someone said. So if you guys have not already, I actually have a video going over my training split. And in that video, one of the movements that I've been doing for one of my pool sessions has been the high cable curl. And the way I've been doing that is, you know, I'll have a cable station. I'll set up the cable really high, and I'll actually have an incline bench set up in front of the cable. And so I'm actually or I do it this way. So like I'm laying down on the bench here, my arms against the pad, and I have the cable up high, and now I'm just coming down like this. So I'm sitting against the bench. Boom. And yeah, I know that's not the best visual representation, but that's how I've been doing it, is I'll set an incline bench in front of a cable station, and do the high cable curls that way. Technique, time, and genetics. How much does each play a part in your success? So they all definitely play a part. You know, genetics obviously is going to play a huge part. It is important to understand that not everybody has the same genetics. My genetics definitely influence how I look, you know, and my muscle bellies, my insertions, my body fat distribution, all those things, you know, genetics play a role there. Time obviously plays a role. I've been lifting for over 10 years. So they're all very important. Technique, you know, over time, improving technique on movements, improving execution, it matters too. You know, when you look at athletes in different sports, it's pretty common to recognize genetics. But for some reason, when it comes to bodybuilding, people think that they're all on a level playing field. And it is important to recognize that we're not. However, it's also important to understand that your reason for doing this should be about, in my opinion, it should be more so about being the best version of yourself. So the fact that matters is that we can all improve, and improvements in technique over time, over longer periods of time, will result in improvements in your physique. So they're all very important there. And then this question is, what ab exercises would you recommend? So, I mean, I would say some of the best things you can do for your abs is simply just, doing some kind of weighted ab crunch machine. That could be cable crunch. It could be like a machine ab crunch. And then like a leg raise variation, where you're actually bringing your legs up. Those two variations of ab exercises are some of the best, in my opinion, that you can do, and just simply treating them just like you would other movements where you're still trying to progress over time in reps and load. Yeah, guys, that's the Q&A there. Hope you guys enjoyed it. Again, this is my first time doing this. I'm not great in front of the camera, as you guys have seen from these vlogs. But guess what? The more you do something, the better you get. So here we are. Let me know what you guys think. If you guys want me to do a part 2, definitely let me know. Like, comment, subscribe, and we are out.